Okay, in this video, we're going to look at level 3 and level 4 equations. Now, a level 3 equation, it's going to require that both expressions need to be simplified. So not just one expression, as in level 2. Now you're going to have to either combine like terms on both sides or distribute on one side and combine like terms on the other, but both expressions will need to be simplified. So in this first equation, the left-hand side, I see that expression contains parentheses, which tells me that I likely need to distribute. So I'm going to distribute the 3 to each term in the inside. That's going to be 12x minus 27 plus 10. And then on the right-hand side, I have just two terms that I can combine because they're like terms. I can combine the 15x with the 7x, and that's going to make 22x, and I still have my plus 2. All right, now I have an equation with variables on both sides. So I'm going to do something so that afterwards I'm going to get a new equation with variables on just one side. I have two choices. I could either subtract 12x from both sides, or I could subtract 22x from both sides, but I want to keep my variable term positive, so I'm going to subtract 12x from both sides. I also had like terms here that I could have combined to start. So I'll combine them now. The 12x and the minus 12x make 0. The negative 27 and the plus 17, that makes negative 17 equals 10x plus 2. Good, so now I have variables on both on just one side now, just the right-hand side. So if I want to get x to be by itself, I would have to then next subtract 2. The right-hand side is going to become just 10x, and the left-hand side will become negative 19. My last step is now to divide by 10. And I'm going to get x equals negative 19 over 10. I can write this as a mixed number if I'd like to. 10 goes into 19 once, with 9 of the 10 left over, and that's going to be negative. So I could also say x equals negative 1.9. So either of these three answers written are correct, and you could have stopped at the first one if you wanted to. All right, for level 4, these are the highest level of equations, and what makes these difficult is each expression has parentheses, so you have to distribute 2 times before you start solving. All right, so the first one, I have 2x minus 14 inside the parentheses. Now, since there's no number attached to it on the outside of it, this is like saying you have one group of 2x minus 14. So really, the parentheses here are actually, they're not really necessary. So I can kind of just remove them. Right? If I distribute a 1 through, I would get exactly what's inside the parentheses. 2x minus 14 plus x equals, for the other expression, I'm distributing a negative. You can think about it as distributing a negative 1. to both terms inside the parentheses. That's going to become 15 negative 1 times negative x is positive 9x. Negative 1 times negative 5 is positive 5. All right, now I see like terms in each of these expressions. 2x plus x is 3x minus 14 equals, on the other side, I have no like term with the x variable, but I do have 15 plus 5, which would make 20. Now I see variables on both sides. I have, again, two choices from here. I can either subtract 3x or I can subtract 9x. I'm going to do the one that keeps the variable term positive, though. I'm going to subtract 3x. That makes 0. I'm left with negative 14 equals 6x plus 20. And then from this step, or from this equation, I really only have one choice now. Since the x is on this side, the right-hand side, I need to move all of my constants to the other side. So now the only thing left to do is to subtract 20. And on the right-hand side, I'm left with 6x. And on the left-hand side, I'm left with negative 34. And then finally, by the division property of equality, divide by 6. X equals negative 34 over 6. And then I can say, well, x equals, let's see, 6 goes into 34 5 times, with 4 remaining. So negative 5 and 4, 6. Or I can simplify that fraction to 2/3. X equals negative 5 and 2/3. All right, and then for our last example for level 4, we have quite a messy looking equation. And I'm going to begin by simplifying each expression using distribution. So the left-hand side expression, after I distribute the negative inside the parentheses, is going to be 7x minus 3x minus 5 minus 8. The right-hand side expression is going to be distribute the 1/2. 4x plus 10 minus 7x plus 5. Now I'm going to look for like terms. 7x and a negative 3x is going to combine to 4x. And then negative 8 plus negative 5 is going to be negative 13. And the right-hand side is going to become 4x plus negative 7x is negative 3x. Then I can add the 10 and the 5 plus 15. Okay, we have variables on both sides. You have two choices. One choice being slightly better than the other because it keeps the variable term positive. I'm going to add 3x to both sides. (7x minus 13 equals 15). Okay, now that I have the variable term on the left-hand side, I have to move the numbers, the constants, to just the other side. Plus 13, plus 13. That will make 0. 7x equals 28. This one can be solved by inspection, and we see that 7 times 4 would give me 28. So x has to equal 4.